Can be accomplished two different ways, two different kind of schools of thinking. The old-fashioned way, going back to my turkey example, is to carve the number into groups, right? 6 divided by 2. If you guys remember when you were little, they might have drawn something like this, and they might have carved it up that way. And of course, come up with the answer 3. And you do that every day. The other method, and the method that you really are going to have to hang your hat on, is instead of doing that, multiply by the divisor's reciprocal. You'll still get the same answer. So instead of performing 6 cut in half, you can multiply by the reciprocal of 2, and you'll still end up with 3. Okay? In a lot of what we do, it's just easier to utilize that second technique. Take a look at example 1. I'm really not going to say much about example 1. All it does is show you that what I have just illustrated for you holds true. Multiplying by the reciprocal of the divisor, so the reciprocal of 2 is the divisor. When you divide with positive and negative numbers, there's some rules to recognize. If the dividend and the divisor are the same sign, the quotient will then be positive. So negative divided by negative, even if you do that other technique, doesn't matter, still same quotient. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Okay? If they're different signs, doesn't matter which one is which, but if one is different from the other, your quotient will be a negative number. Negative 6 divided by positive 6 is a negative 1. 6 divided by negative 6 is a negative 1. Get these rules in your head. That is the easiest way to lose points on this, is to forget that rule. I'm going to jump into example 2 here in just a second. Can I go ahead and get to it? All right, here we go. Most of that above was example 1. I just didn't get into too much detail. Here's example 2, or I didn't mark it as such. If I say 12 divided by 5, 6, and both of them are negative, I already know my sign, my answer is going to be a positive, right? So you can stop even thinking about the sign of your quotient. Same sign, positive quotient. When you were in 5th grade, you were introduced to the fact, however, that you cannot divide by fractions in the traditional method of cutting it into groups. Instead, you must multiply by the reciprocal of the second number. Same sign. Look like that? For the purposes of fractions, you want to look for an opportunity to cancel, and there isn't one here. Would have been nice. But your end result is going to be positive 72 over 5. And for our purposes, you can reduce, but you don't need to convert it to a mixed number. That can't be reduced anyway, so you're kind of stuck with it. Okay? In algebra, you do not need to convert to a mixed number. Another example for this, I'm going to throw at you here. It looks a whole lot scarier, but it's saying the same thing. I just want to make you aware of it. If you see this, this is the same example. What does that mean? Anybody know what that means? Yep, she's right. It's negative 16 divided by negative 1/2. Don't let all these division bars scare you. Can't divide by a fraction, so we multiply by the reciprocal of the second number. Okay, don't forget the reciprocal shares the same sign as its reciprocal. Okay, negative 1/2 reciprocal is negative 2. That does not change. Even if you throw variables into all this, and guys, I really want you reviewing these notes as you're doing the homework for the next several days. Even if you're doing variables, you can treat the whole mess the same way. Instead of dividing, you can multiply by the reciprocal of the second number. The second number, the divisor, is negative 8. Its reciprocal is negative 1/8. Cross cancel, whoops, cross cancel. Looks like you have a negative 6 times a as your answer. Don't forget the variable. 6a negative 1. Here's your answer. Okay. Here's another one for you. And when you're doing the homework, refer back to these different examples. Negative 6 multiplied by x over 6. Now you can take this apart and say it's negative 6 multiplied by x divided by 6, right? Instead of dividing by 6, you can multiply by its reciprocal. Okay, you recognize that this is x divided by 6, which I rebuilt this way. Look for opportunities to cross cancel. The 6's, for example, even though they're not neighbors, they still can cross cancel. I now have a negative x as my result. Negative x. If you did not do all that, if you just left it like this, you know, you could already do that reducing right here. You did not have to turn this into this. You could have just multiplied it as it is. Just regular old fractional multiplication. You could have just treated this like a fraction being multiplied by a whole number. Recognize that. A fraction is a division problem. And depending upon what you have, you can treat it either way and still get the same answer. All right, what if I said to you, hold on a second, I want to do something really quick. Instead of saying this, how can you rephrase that division problem so that it is a multiplication problem? Instead of 49 divided by negative 7, what can you say differently? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Negative 1/7. Very good. So instead of division, you can think of it that way. I want you to try one more with me real quick. One more, I'm going to have you just try it. Negative 48b divided by negative 6. Depending upon how your mind works, your mind might have already solved it in your head because you just divide the numbers. But if you need to rewrite it this way, you can. Did y'all come up with 8b? 48 by 6, positive 8. B by 1, there's no other variable. B. Okay, today is odd.